Hey guys, Kevin the Patriot Punk here. You know, they say good things happen to those who wait, and they really do. You see, earlier today I was going to do a video about the events of yesterday and what happened in DC with Antifa, but I waited, and I put it off until this afternoon, and it's a good thing I did because the universe gifted me with this gem.
Dressed in black and ready to fight, this is what the world sees of the Antifa.
Oh, Nazis
There is no national Antifa group. It is mostly made up of people who are far left of center, who make it their mission to battle fascists, racists, and alt-right extremists.
Alright, so this video is called Unmasking Antifa, and it was put out earlier today by CNN. Now, we're going to watch the rest of this video, and it is insane. But before we do, I want to say something. Earlier this week, we saw ABC get caught using a left-wing activist for a story, and in that story, the left-wing activist was pretending to be a neo-Nazi Trump supporter. That was exposed. We saw CNN get caught using an actor who was playing a Trump supporter on a panel, and he was saying that he no longer supports Trump because Trump is racist. They were caught for that. We saw an MSNBC commentator calling Antifa angels and saying they are doing God's work. We saw another MSNBC commentator saying that there's no such thing as black racism, only white people can be racist. I believe all of this stuff has been done purposefully. I think it was done in conjunction with the Unite the Right event that happened yesterday, and we're going to talk about that event too. But I think this is done to divide this country, to try to stir up conflict, and it is despicable. It truly shows us that these people are fake news and also the enemy of the people. And speaking of enemy of the people, before we get back to this Antifa video, yesterday Antifa show up in DC looking like a riotous funeral procession for Darth Vader. They attack police. They go there prepared for battle with masks, dressed in all black, wielding shopping carts full of eggs, bottles of urine, blunt force weapons. I mean, how can you not see that these people are everything they accuse their enemies of? It's ridiculous. And we have to do something about both them and the mainstream media propagandists. Now let's get back to this video.
Behind the masks are people from all walks of life, artists, moms, ordinary Americans, as well as anarchists.
Alright, hold up. So isn't it ironic that the network that lecture us every day on white privilege and say we need more diversity are here glorifying a group, talking about how they come from all walks of life, and the group are actual white privileged millennial losers who should have got a job and a haircut about 10 years ago.
But fighting is only part of what the Antifa does.
So everybody had a good day at school today?
These Antifa members battle white supremacists using cameras and computers, outing neo-Nazis on social media in a process called doxing.
Yo, Tubbs!
Alright, so here CNN is saying that, look, not all Antifa are violent savages. Some of them are peaceful. And their example of peaceful Antifa are these people who go out and dox people. Because yeah, doxing is so peaceful and it's never hurt anybody, right? I mean, it didn't hurt me. It hurt my car and my property, but it didn't hurt me physically. It hurt my friend Jovi, who was stabbed in the face. It hurt Andrew Dodson, who killed himself after being doxed. Guys, doxing is despicable. Okay, I hate leftists, and I'm prepared to defend myself if necessary to the death against leftists. But I would never dox anybody. When you dox somebody, you not only hurt that person, you hurt their children, you hurt their co-workers, you hurt their friends. It is so dark and disturbing that CNN is trying to portray this as a noble pursuit. Shame on them.
Tubbs, fat boy!
Jessica and Alex capture white supremacist rallies on video, then post identities of the participants online, outing them to their friends and co-workers.
What is doxing?
It's ascertaining an individual's identity and personal information, and then engineering social consequences for that person for being out in the streets as a white supremacist and making threats against minority communities. You do not get to be a Nazi on the weekend. If you're a Nazi on Saturday and you're marching with a torch, you're a Nazi all week long.
Alright, so I'm sure you're all asking yourselves the million-dollar question right now. What to these people constitutes a Nazi and therefore makes somebody worthy of being doxxed? And the truth is, if they were just doxing Nazis, they'd be able to dox all of them in just one day. But they're not. They're doxing people who support Trump. They're doxing people who are just Republican. To prove this, I want to read to you from my doxing. Bear with me, they put this in numerical order. So, number 1, Cormier is a member of the Proud Boys who describes himself as an alt-righter and jokes about shooting leftists. Well, I do joke on occasion about throwing leftists out of helicopters, so they got that right, but I've never identified myself as an alt-righter, and I am no longer a Proud Boy, so that's wrong. Number 2, Cormier is married and lives in Raleigh, North Carolina. Well, I am married, happily, I have kids, and we live in North Carolina. We don't live in Raleigh. Also, we live in El Salvador for part of the year, and we also have a place in Louisiana, so they missed a little bit there. Number 3, Cormier wrote about his struggle with a pill addiction and his experience living in a commune in Mexico. Well, this is true. I've written articles about having a pill addiction, and I've written articles about my time traveling with the Rainbow family down in Mexico. I've also lived in 20 other countries, and they didn't put anything in there about that. I did have a pill addiction. I came back from Iraq, I had an injury, and I got addicted to methadone and Oxycontin. I'm not ashamed of this. It's not anything that shows me being a Nazi or a white supremacist, so I don't know why that was relevant. Number 4, Cormier spent time in Iraq and says he experienced PTSD. And you guys should see the pictures they put with these numbers. It's hilarious. Yes, I am a combat veteran, and yes, I have PTSD. I did 2 tours in Iraq that totaled 1 year, and I saw a lot of people die there at a very young age, a lot of blood, a lot of guts. It impacted me. I also spent time in New Orleans after Katrina and saw a lot of horrible stuff there. You get PTSD from things like that. Number 5. He's a Trump supporter who follows the MAGA network on Facebook. Well, there's the evidence, guys. There's your proof that I am a Nazi. I follow the Trump MAGA network on Facebook. And the picture that they use for that one is just the icing on the cake of this stupidity.
Doxing by both the alt-right and the Antifa is becoming more prevalent than the violence. But it's the violence that gets most of the attention.
I hung back to smoke a cigarette.
Alex has traveled by bus to a dozen protests across the country since Donald Trump's inauguration. He was at the deadly protest in Charlottesville last year and says he was not far behind Heather Heyer, the young woman who was hit by a car and killed.
I run up there and it looks like a war zone. People bleeding, screaming. They couldn't get ambulances through. It was a mess.
You say they're coming to these events looking for a fight, that they're armed and they're ready.
Yeah.
So by giving it back to them, aren't you kind of playing into exactly what they're looking for?
The only other option is allowing them to attack the community. I'm not going to stand back and do that.
Okay, so let me just remind you that CNN is the network that said it was a conspiracy theory when people on the right said that Antifa are being bussed in and paid to do violence. And they're interviewing this guy who's a professional Antifa who admits to being bussed around and paid to do violence. And they're portraying him as a white knight while they impose this video of the car hitting those people in Charlottesville. And he's there saying that he has to do violence against right-wingers, or right-wingers are going to go out and do violence against the communities. Well, let me just tell you, I've been a right-winger a long time, and I watch the news every day. I've been to Tea Party rallies. I've been to Trump rallies. I have never seen right-wingers attack anybody unprovoked. We fought back before against violent Antifa, but I have never seen anybody on the right attack a member of the community. Remember, we're the people who want law and order, who respect the community. Now, what we saw yesterday completely debunks everything they're saying here. Yesterday, you had the same people who were in Charlottesville. You had the Unite the Right march yesterday. And in that march, you had a black guy, you had Hispanic guys, you had an Arabic guy. I saw several women. It wasn't a lot of people, but it was a diverse group. And they were marching towards the White House, carrying American flags, and they were surrounded by what looked like the world's largest emo group, people wearing all black, armed, throwing rocks at them, throwing their own urine at them, calling my friend Jovi, who's Hispanic, a wetback, calling the black guy the N-word. These people have no respect for the groups that they claim to support, to want to protect. They're pushing on the police. They're holding up signs that say, fascists get bullets. They're shouting at the top of their lungs all kinds of vulgarity. They were chanting death to America and no borders, no walls, no USA at all. And yet they say that it was the right-wingers who have hate in their hearts. So it really blows apart the whole narrative that we've heard for the past year about the first Unite the Right, and it makes you wonder, if those Antifa hadn't been there, would there have been any violence at all? Would they even have a video clip of somebody being rammed with the car? And I don't think they would.
If people aren't going to stand up to them, then they're going to grow. The same thing happened pre-World War II. And the next thing you know, 6 million dead Jews. Is it worth it? Yeah. To prevent another Holocaust? Absolutely. Are we on our way there? Yeah. Is there a civil war coming if we don't stop it?
All right, let's get real. Donald Trump is not planning on rounding up all the Jews and putting them in concentration camps. His own grandchildren are Jewish, for God's sakes. What you do have here, and I agree with this guy, we probably will see a civil war in this country, because you have violent Antifa who believe in an ideology that has consistently killed millions every time it has been implemented by a regime. And they are backed by billionaire elites who want to cause chaos, who want to destroy this country. And they have a mainstream media that are pushing propaganda for this ideology and cheering them on while they're out in the streets yelling, kill all the pigs, death to America, no borders, no walls, no USA at all, and all this other nonsense. So yes, if these people continue to try to do violence, if the mainstream media continue to slander the American people and do wrong by the American people, if billionaire elites that back them continue to try to cause chaos in this country and try to divide us, we may see a civil war. But I'd rather see it now than let these people implement an ideology that will destroy the future of this country for my children.
Some people would see that as an extreme view.
Yeah, and so did people pre-World War II. And guess what? A lot of them were killed.
33-year-old Cameron is what you might call a reluctant Antifa member. He's a musician and an athletic trainer, and he represents what he says are a lot of Antifa protesters who aren't quite on board with all of the violence.
You took violence out of the mix. Wouldn't you still have the same platform?
Absolutely.
So, but why the need to fight?
For me personally, I can't speak for everyone and raises a flag for anti-fascist action, but for me personally, violence is only to be used as an absolute last resort. I try to sway people around me. I try to convince them, hey, don't just walk up and clock somebody on the street. That's not exactly great for optics. It's definitely an internal issue, and it's one that we're still fighting.
John Carrico believes violence is a tool that is necessary to Antifa. He's an anarchist who considers himself an activist, often starting his day at the food pantry.
Fritos? You want some Fritos? There you go.
He also says he is running for the U.S. Senate in Tennessee.
I am more, radical and than that. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm not gonna run from that. I'm just gonna, because I'm just using a platform. Move things further to the left.
Last summer, Carrico was arrested for fighting at a white supremacist gathering. He was charged with disorderly conduct, a misdemeanor. But the man he fought was so badly injured, he had to be evacuated by medical helicopter.
How did you land at anarchy?
I had been a big Obama supporter. He kind of let me down, so I was like, well, maybe the government isn't effective at doing these things.
John's father is a staunch Trump supporter who is appalled by his son's Antifa activities.
I'm not sure what Antifa or Antifa, or how you pronounce it, really is. I'm not sure that they're left. I mean, some people might lump them in with the supremacist group as far as, as their methodology.
All right, so here's where everything we've said about Antifa, all of the little tropes, come into crystal clear 3D, right? This guy is everything we say that Antifa are. He is spoiled. He is an anarchist. He's a criminal. He's rebellious and violent. He is delusional. And he is living in his father's basement. He is biting the hand that feeds him, rebelling against his parents. And look, I mean, the dad needs to kick him out of the basement, all right? It's partially the parents' fault. If this guy wants to be an anarchist, maybe the father should kick him out and let him experience real anarchy. I think it would change his whole political philosophy. Guys, this video goes on for a couple more minutes, but I just want to say, this guy right here, I want to end it with him because he is the future of the Democratic Party if we do not do something immediately. We're already seeing people like him with Ocasio-Cortez and this new wave of extreme left Democrats. None of them know anything. They have no life experience. They have no idea what it takes to make an economy work. And they are just out to cause chaos. And it's serious, guys. I know he looks pathetic, and all of these people do. They are all pathetic. But there's strength in numbers, and they are building strength. And they have backing, like we've talked about, from billionaires and from the media. So we have to shut this down. We have to do something immediately. What we do, I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments what you think should be done. But yeah, it's serious, guys. It's something we can all joke about, but I wanted to show you this video so we could look at the hypocrisy, we could look at the horror of what's going on right now, and maybe, learn how to call it out. So anyway, like and subscribe to my channel. I'm out.